For over 20 years, my good friend Norm Wells of BMW Motorrad and myself have been religiously booking a week off each fall so that we can head out and ride a different part of Canada. Looking back on it, other than Labrador, we've pretty much explored the entire country. From Cape Spear, Newfoundland to Tofino, BC. Peppered in between the Maple Leaf tours, we've also added every major US riding destination we could. From California's twisty San Gabriel Mountains to the Catskills of New York State. Not to mention trips down to central Mexico and Costa Rica. This year, we had a major plan in the works to ride north of Superior. But the COVID pandemic wiped those distance calculations right off the table, leaving us to do what it turns out most Canadians did last fall. We got our motors running and we went looking for adventure right in our own backyard. Well, Norm, here we are at BMW headquarters in Richmond Hill, Ontario, getting set to start our 22nd BMW Ultimate Ride. I can't believe we've been doing this 22 years. I am so excited for this ride. But these are not R18s. What happened?
What usually happens, David, is we make a plan to do something, and when it's time to get it done, we change it.
Right.
So in the summertime, we had talked about using the R18s in the fall and doing maybe a Golden Horseshoe coffee tour or a butter tour up north. But we're leaving a little bit later now, and it's cooled off dramatically. So these machines are going to be a little bit more friendly to us with heated seats and heated grips to get through the ride. And again, you know, on Monday we had an idea of where we wanted to be going. Now it's Thursday, and it's something completely different again. And you kind of picked this out, and you can tell me why this is the tour you'd like to do.
The reason why I chose the route we're taking today is I thought it would be fun, since given where we're starting, it might be fun to travel along the Trent-Severn Waterway, at least picking that up at Lake Simcoe and following it all the way down to where it ends at Lake Ontario in Trenton, Ontario. And I thought it would be fun because it was one of the first travel corridors in our country, going back thousands of years with our Indigenous people.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, I mean, I've ridden in that area quite a bit, not on all the roads that you've pointed out, but I just love it up there. I mean, you know, Muskoka, Kawarthas, hopefully we'll get some nice fall colors still. It's been windy as heck this week, so I might have blown all the leaves off, but no, I'm looking forward to it. It should be a beautiful ride.
No, we should enjoy the fall colors. We're going to have hopefully some open roads. We're going to travel over the top of this whole sort of Kawartha region, following various locks along the Trent-Severn, and we'll talk about the history of that as we go. Tomorrow, more locks. I'm hoping we can head up to the Ottawa Valley and catch the Rideau Canal. And then finally, Prince Edward County with all kinds of great history, and it's a hot spot right now for food and wine, so we'll finish up with a little bit of fun there. So I'm looking forward to these 3 days.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds good. And then, like you said, the weather's clearing up a little bit now, and the next couple of days looks okay. So hopefully we can get the temperature up by mid-morning and get going.
Well, as we've learned, the key to an ultimate ride is to stay flexible. And this is about as flexible as it gets. Anyway,
absolutely.
Let's suit up, let's hit the road.
All right.
Well, Norm, the sun is coming out. We've hit 11 degrees Celsius, and here we are in beautiful Gamebridge, Ontario. And really, we've only been riding just over an hour from Richmond Hill at the north part of Toronto, and this is the gateway to cottage country. I'm amazed.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, for me, this is one of my favorite rides on the weekends. I did it quite a bit this summer, and from Midtown Toronto, it's an hour and a half. I get up here, and like you said, the buildings are gone. A lot of the traffic is gone. You know, it's a whole different environment, and now your mind just clicks into relax mode, and you just start enjoying the scenery and the ride.
Yeah, and we've got the Trent-Severn Canal behind us here. One part of it, it's 380 kilometers long, but this is the point I wanted to start our tour from, because Lake Simcoe's just over here. It's about a third of the way along the Trent-Severn Waterway, and you know, with over 40 locks, we're going to see a few of them on this trip. But this is where we start to get into the Kawarthas, and we're making our way down to Trenton.
Yeah, and there's some pretty cool history on this, and I think we'll be talking history, and you know, I always do my homework, but this, interestingly enough, was only conceived in 1833, but they only started building it in 1879, and then finished it in 1920. And originally, it was designed to be for lumber and logging. as time went on and they finished it by 1920, they realized that it was no longer useful as a commercial route. And they opened it up as a scenic route because the Great Lake boats were just far too large. The ships were just too big. They weren't going to come down here through this. But it's an interesting story behind it.
Yeah, and the first lock was built in Bobcaygeon, which we're going to see shortly later on this morning. We're heading there now. So that's, the history is great. I love whenever you put a ride together, like whenever we try to put a ride together like this, we always try to find a link, a reason for doing it. And many times it's for the history. And as I've said, this was a traditional route going back hundreds and thousands of years for the Indigenous people. So it's going to be kind of fun. From here, we're going to Fenland Falls.
Yeah, that's the next one on the route today.
I guess we're going to look at taking the Argyle Road through Glenarm and Side Road 8.
Yeah, when we make the turn, it's 15, turns into 8, and then 8's going to take us right through to Fenland Falls, Bobcaygeon, and it'll take us to 36. And at 36, that's where I take off and use my 507 route north there, which we're not going to do today, but it's one of my favorite rides up here for sure.
Well, this is great. We're not going to be covering a huge amount of distance today. It's going to be a full day, but all these locks are fairly close together. So let's make our way to Fenland Falls and see what we can see there.
Absolutely.
Well, Norm, here we are in beautiful Fenland Falls, Ontario, midway through the first day in our Ontario Waterways tour. How do you like that for the name? Our 22nd ultimate ride, the Ontario Waterways Tour. We're certainly making it up as we go along to a degree because there's a pandemic going on right now. And I thought, well, if anything, isn't this a great way to, while away the time and relax right here in our own backyard, virtually?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we've gone to so many places in the past on our rides, and like you said, the 22nd one, and this year because of COVID, we're kind of stuck to our neighborhood, and we're just fortunate to have this just north of us because the riding through here is just fantastic, and we're seeing a lot of the fall colors, which I'm glad because I wasn't too sure if we're going to see that. But yeah, I've ridden up here quite a bit this summer, and sometimes with friends and sometimes alone, but you're absolutely right. On a motorcycle, it's just a great way to get through this.
And what I'm surprised to hear and talking to you on a couple of these stops is just how much of a boom motorcycling experience this past summer. A lot of people coming back into the sport, a lot of people getting into the sport because during COVID, this is one of the best ways to have some fun.
We saw that in the small bikes. We don't, that's not our market, but we saw an absolute boom in below 125cc. So obviously a lot of families, no daycare, nowhere to go, buy a small motorcycle and take your kids out riding. It was fantastic.
Yeah, well, we'll be seeing this series obviously in the spring of 2021, and hopefully we can encourage other people to have some fun in their backyard. Here we are on the Trent-Severn as we've been following this waterway, and you commented about just how high up we feel. We're near Balsam Lake here, and this is definitely one of the highest points in the canal. I think you said, what, 180?
180 meters from Kinty West to Gamebridge.
Yeah, and the time it takes to travel the whole waterway from Lake Huron down to where we're going in Trenton on Lake Ontario, it's a 5 to 7 day journey, and there's a lot of locks.
That'd be a great way to isolate as well, is in the summertime, having done this, take 2 weeks, go both ways, and just really enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, Fenland Falls, here we are in Fenland Falls. The next stop is Bobcaygeon. That's where they built the first lock. And hopefully we can get some coffee there. I mean, it's still 11, but we are comfortable with the heated grips, heated seats, heated vests. Talk about extending your riding season. This is probably about as far as you can go.
No such thing as a bad riding day, just bad riding equipment.
All right. Well, we're going to head on down to Bobcaygeon. Thanks, Norm.
Excellent.
Well, Norm, here we are in Healy Falls, and it's late afternoon on day one of our Ontario Waterways tour, and we're reconnecting here with the Trent-Severn Waterway just north of Campbellford, and it's been a heck of an afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. From Fenland Falls to Healy Falls, a couple of really nice roads through there. I've done a little bit of that, but a lot of it's new to me.
Yeah.
But definitely enjoyed the 36 and then northeast. I think it was Northeast Road, just north of Stony Lake.
Yeah.
That was nice and twisty and tight and hilly and good fun.
Yeah, I think they also refer to it as Peterborough 56, which then when we got over the top of Stony Lake, we came down this road 44 to Havelock. That was such a cool road. There was like no civilization anywhere. It was just dead straight south down to Havelock, but it was a great run.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the top part was quite twisty, and then it opened up after about 10-15 clicks into that straight road.
Yeah. The whole time we've been riding today, I've been thinking, this was supposed to be, how do you have an adventure in your backyard? And a lot of these roads, as you said, you've sampled them. I've been up over the top of the Kawartha Lakes before. But today I've been to places I've never been before, on roads I've never been before. Like, this is a great example. I didn't even know this was here.
Yeah, exactly. And when you said we were going to be doing this tour, I was really looking forward to it just for that reason, because today, this afternoon, and what we're going to probably experience tomorrow, this is all brand new to me, and it's very cool, and it's not that far from home. And still a lot of fall colors happening, which is really enjoyable, especially when we got into that really tight, twisty stuff. It was just beautiful riding through there, through the hills and the colors, and like you said, nice and cool, so you really know it is the fall.
Yeah. Well, we're still not done for the day. It's about 3 p.m. and we've got a couple hours of daylight still ahead of us. And we're not that far from our final destination, but essentially what I'd like to do is continue south along the Trent River here through Campbellford and wrap things up in Trenton, which is where, the Trent-Severn Waterway starts for some people, ends for others.
Exactly, yeah. And I think we're down to lock 15 now, if this is the right number for this one. So that's from 41 to 15, that's 36 locks.
Yeah.
That's a lot of locks in a rather short kilometer distance.
Yeah.
And right here, there's two back to back, and you can see there it goes from quite high to even much further down here. So yeah, it's pretty impressive.
Nice. Well, it's been a pile of fun so far, and we've got one more stop before we wrap up today. But so far, it's been a great ultimate ride.
Absolutely.
Well, Norm, here we are, end of day one in this year's Ultimate Ride, BMW Ultimate Ride, the Ontario Waterways Tour. And what a great way to wrap up day one right here at Lock 1 on the Trent-Severn Waterway.
Yeah, quite a day, from 41 to 1. Rode the whole thing from end to end. It took us some time, obviously, the way that we do it, but I was thinking about this ride today and having gone to places that I'd never been before. And for somebody leaving, downtown Toronto, that's a beautiful one-day loop. You give yourself about 6 hours, a little bit of time to stop here and there, and it's a perfect loop.
Yeah, we could have, this morning we started out at 8:30 in the morning in Richmond Hill, the northern part of Toronto, and we could have driven here down the 401, the major freeway, and probably been here in about an hour and a half. Instead, we've taken the entire day. We certainly went the long way around. And it was well worth it. I mean, what a beautiful fall ride.
Oh, absolutely. All day, each part of this ride has been different, which has been interesting. The different styles of riding and the different roads. I really enjoyed, after we left Healy's Falls, 50 along the canal, on our left-hand side, and just seeing lock after lock as we were riding down there. I mean, that was just enjoyable, and it was quiet and good. The traffic's been rather light today too, which is nice. We're out here in the fall and on a weekday, so it's just been a totally enjoyable day riding.
And speaking of this time of year, you mentioned earlier up at the lock at Keely's, we were using a drone, and you said, man, we couldn't have done that 22 years ago. And I was thinking, look at the gear we're wearing, and we've got our electric vests on, heated grips, heated saddles, and some really great gear to stay warm. And geez, it would have been tough to do that 22 years ago as well. So you got to dress for the weather.
I was thinking today, 2 years ago when we did BC, I forgot my heated vest, and it was cold, and I paid the price for that one.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. If you've got the right gear, it doesn't really matter what the temperature is. You're just going to enjoy your day.
The other part that makes this fun, besides the roads, the weather, the scenery, it's kind of neat to throw a little history into this. We talk about this all the time on our rides, but I just look back at the sign again, reminding me it's a National Historic Site. The history's great, and I think we've got more history tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I mean, as important as this canal was, tomorrow I feel has had even more significance in the whole Canadian development story. So more to come tomorrow.
Right. Yeah. Well, we've it's got a little more daylight. We've still got a little bit more of a ride down to Trent-Severn County where we're going to lay our head this evening. But yeah, tomorrow, more history, more canals, more locks, more waterways, more hills, more Ultimate Ride. Well, Norm, here we are in Deseronto, Ontario, start of day 2 in this season's Ultimate Ride. And look at this, picture perfect.
Fabulous, windless day. Isn't that beautiful?
This is a gorgeous fall day on the Bay of Quinte. And the reason I wanted to start here in Deseronto is just, again, starting with our historical theme on this journey. You know, this was a traditional lumber town. And we have hit so many interesting small towns on this journey. We're right next to Tyendinaga territory, the home of the Mohawks of the Bay of Quinte. And, we've been following Waterways. And this is a traditional waterway that's been used for some 9,000 years plus. And we are going to continue with our waterway theme today. You've got a great plan for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And this morning now we're going to head east and make our way towards Kingston, and then take Highway 10 out of Kingston and make our way up to Perth, and maybe a couple of side stops along the way up. Westport might be one that we might take a look at, and then from Perth later on in the day we're going to make our way south, and through that we'll be down by the Rideau Canal and seeing a lot of those canals and that waterway that was similar to what we saw yesterday, but historically very different.
Yeah, and that sounds great. We're going to continue with the waterway theme. And, the Rideau Canal is a terrific jumping off point as we look at now what's known as a UNESCO heritage site. So there's going to be some great history there. Again, we'll be continuing with our history theme. You know, just across the water and just over that point of land is Hay Bay, and that's where John A. Macdonald was born and grew up and went to school, and I think he was responsible for a lot of the stuff we're looking at.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so couldn't pick a better day. I can't believe this. We're right in the middle of October.
It looks warm probably to the viewers, but this morning when we left Bloomfield, it was 0, felt like -3. And
yeah.
then, or when I got up, and then when we left it was 3 degrees. And it got up to 10 when we were going by that Bay of Quinte waterway. I just said, perfect, this is gonna be a great day. And then it dropped right back down to 5 again. So, but it is sunny, and there's no wind, less clouds. So even though it's chilly,
yeah,
you feel the warmth.
Yeah. Well, even since Bloomfield, we've had a nice little ride. We've seen lots of water, lots of fall leaves. I don't know, it feels to me like an ultimate ride.
Absolutely.
Let's hit it. Well, Norm, here we are in beautiful, sunny Westport, Ontario, midway through day 2 in our ultimate ride, the Ontario Waterways Tour. We're quite a ways north of Kingston now. We've been riding the old Perth Road, and man, it was a beautiful ride. And we found a great side trip. We took a few minutes and went down this Opinnicon Road. Wow, what a find.
Oh, geez, that was super tight, hilly, twisty, and it's one of these, we never even knew it existed, but now that we know it's there, we got to tell everybody, you got to do it.
Yeah. Well, this certainly has been a real delight in terms of finding new routes, this particular ultimate ride. But that Opinnicon Road, you can do it either as part of what we're doing today, going north on the Perth and then coming back down on 15 along the Rideau Canal, or you could ride it either way because it links these two roads.
Yeah, I'd say do them both, include it in your loop twice in the day.
Yeah, now let's not forget, we're in Westport, but behind us is Big Rideau, and actually you can see part of the Rideau Canal route right here exiting Westport. But the ultimate goal today is to hit the Rideau Canal, and there are a couple of lakes that are part of that canal system.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to, once we get on the west side of these lakes, we'll be able to identify them as we move down. But there's definitely a couple of locks that we've kind of pointed out that we wanted to see. But yesterday we were talking about Trent-Severn locks, and we were mentioning, tomorrow's is going to be a little bit more historically significant, and as a matter of fact, it is. And it was actually built before the Trent-Severn ones, and it was a result of the War of 1812. when the Canadian colony at that time, led by the British, were looking for an opportunity to move all the goods and everything that they needed from Montreal down to Kingston, because the St. Lawrence River was going to be volatile. They had no idea how the Americans were going to be able to, if they're going to patrol this, if they're going to be bombarded on this thing. So they actually built this whole Rideau system specifically for that. And they did it in 20 years. So they finished in 1832.
Yeah.
And a year later was only the conception of the Trent, which didn't even start till 1879. So, I mean, ultimately, this is the one here that put the footprint down for you're not getting in here. Thanks to that, we have Canada today.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty amazing that as a result of the War of 1812, we have this for our playground. I can't say, enough about the fact that, we're doing this during a pandemic. And we are just so blessed and so lucky to have these fabulous roads and routes to follow.
Absolutely. I've completely enjoyed this. It's a whole new area for me, and I'm just really having a good time discovering it all.
Yeah, well, on to Perth. Let's hit it. Well, Norm, here we are mid-afternoon, day 2 in our ultimate ride, the Waterways tour, and we are at Chaffee's Lock, which is on the Rideau Canal, part of the Rideau Canal, one of the more scenic locks, I think. And what an afternoon, man. I don't know how you came up with those roads riding south from Perth, but that was unreal.
Yeah, it was quite a combination. I mean, we ended 10, and I found the end of 10 getting to Perth was just a nice, beautiful ride, big and smooth. And then we headed south and jumped on 21, which started off very similar, and then it got a little narrower, and then the line disappeared. It was just white chip pavement, whatever it is. And then you actually asked me at one point, we stopped, and you said, "Are you sure we're still on 21?
Well, the road got to be so small and narrow and windy. What happened?
Yeah. And then hit 14, and same thing on 14, just another beautiful hilly, twisty road. And then down to 9, and then again, now back to this larger, smoother, twisty road. It's been a phenomenal combination of those 3 roads to get down to where we are now.
Yeah. And along the way, we stopped at the Narrows Lock, and that was pretty interesting. There was a blockhouse there, but there was also the lock in action, and you said they're all manual.
Yes, I was chatting with the guy because when we got there, fortunately, there was a boat that was coming through, so I was watching him crank away on something, and I let him finish, and I saw the lock open, and then he was getting up onto the bridge, and another guy put in a tool, and he just started walking around in a circle, pushing a tool, and the bridge opened, and I'm like, wow, this is completely manual lock. And I asked the guy, so is this the only one? He says, no, there's 49 locks apparently.
Yeah.
And out of them, there's only 3 that are hydraulic. The rest are all manual.
Yeah, so that was fun to see and amazing to see. It's a 200-kilometer canal, and it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's the only one that's still in operation in North America in terms of active canal. The blockhouse was there. There's only 4 along the route. I can't believe a garrison of 20 men would stay in a blockhouse like that. And then here at Chaffee's Lock, I wanted to stop here because there's a cemetery. Interesting to note, about 1,000 people died during the construction, not from accidents, from malaria. Most of them were Irish immigrant workers. But 9 people did die along the way from accidental deaths. And there's a cemetery here with a lot of unmarked graves as a result of all the carnage during the construction. Anyway, it's been an amazing afternoon.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And, it's not done yet. There's still some good roads. We still got a ways to go. And we're heading down now to Kingston Mills to kind of wrap up the day.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to seeing what, I think it's 11 now. We're going to take a sample of something like that. But anyways, we'll see what it gives us.
Yeah, well, Kingston's Mills is next, and then from there, the canal pops out at Kingston into Lake Ontario. But boy, what a great excuse for a ride, and what a great afternoon. Let's keep on riding.
Keep it going.
Well, Norm, here we are at Kingston Mills, one of the last locks down the Rideau Canal before you get into Kingston. And we're wrapping up day 2 in the Ultimate Ride Ontario Waterways series, and I think we're calling it just in time. But man, what a great day.
Oh, it's been fantastic. I mean, it started off so beautiful this morning. No wind, calm lake behind us, big sunshine, and the lake was kind of looking like that most of the day, but here near the end, it's cooled off and the dark clouds are in and the wind's picked up, so time to get off the road.
Yeah, but it's been one full loop. We started down by Lake Ontario, went all the way up to Perth, found the Rideau, and then followed the Rideau Canal all the way back. And it's been just a great excuse for hitting some great back roads during the fall.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really enjoyed the second half of 10. You know, the lower part of it when we decided to go exploring a little bit was not overwhelming, but once we got into the second half, it was fantastic. And then obviously the roads, you know, when we came down from Perth, that whole combination, the 3 roads, and we were going to go a little bit further, but you know, this came up and we did the smart thing, I think, was to just get back to 15, which is still an enjoyable road.
Yeah.
You just get so spoiled on the little ones that, you know, there was still beautiful fall colors and nice big sweeping corners. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot of history, but for me, it was just an amazing riding day.
Yeah, and amazing. We forgot to mention the butter tarts up in Westport. This is also turning into a bit of a butter tart tour. But yeah, it's been an amazing ride. And one of the other things we haven't mentioned beside the butter tarts, it's the fall. The roads have been ours. I mean, it's a little busy here now, close to Kingston, but pretty much for the day. The reason I love doing the fall rides is we have the roads to ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, normally we'd be staying at hotels too, which gives us that opportunity to get, you know, better price hotels, everything else. But it is COVID pandemic, and you know, fortunately we're doing this in the county, so you get to go home. But even I've rented a house. Yeah. So there's always options when like we were saying, riding in pandemics. Well, that's one, is just rent a house and be on your own.
Yep. Well, you mentioned Prince Edward County for this evening, and then tomorrow, day 3. Hopefully we'll have some more of the same, but you know, Prince Edward County on the north shore of Lake Ontario, another waterway, you know, leading of course to the St. Lawrence Seaway, one of the very first traveled roadways on the water, if you will, going back 9,000 BC. So hopefully we'll have some more fine weather again tomorrow, and some more great roads.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've ridden around the county a little bit, or not a little bit, I've been there quite a few times, but you told me now that you've found some new roads that we can go explore, so I'm really looking forward to that tomorrow. Yeah,
well, thanks for this one so far today. It's been another BMW Ultimate Ride.
Hey, absolutely.
Well, Norm, here we are at the County Cider Company in beautiful Prince Edward County, starting day 3 in our Ultimate Ride, and what a morning so far.
The greatest thing about this morning was waking up, and it was about 17 degrees as opposed to frost on my seat and 0 yesterday.
Yeah.
But yeah, de-layered, and now it's just a real comfortable ride.
Oh my goodness, what an incredible temperature swing over 3 days. But you know, here we are in Prince Edward County. We started out this morning in the historic village of Bloomfield. From there, we rode into Picton and we checked out the courthouse where John A. once practiced law as a teenager, I think, and Macaulay House. And then from there, we went to Lake on the Mountain, one of the most beautiful views in Prince Edward. Again, looking at the waterway, we were looking up at Hay Bay. And then finished off for this stand-up down here in Wapoose. And we've got Lake Ontario behind us and Wapoose Island. And again, we're back to the waterway, right? Lake Ontario, the St. Lawrence, it's all right here.
Yeah, and you know, that was interesting because when we were at Lake at the Mountain, you don't realize when you're sort of riding inside the county how high you are.
Yeah.
Because you come out to this when you're come by the water, and I was looking at the height, and we're at 120 meters. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy, because like here again, the view is just fantastic.
Yeah.
The roads are beautiful. I mean, I've done some roads today already now that I've never done here. I come here with my wife quite often. We've done wine tours, so we've kind of done the perimeter of the county. But where you were taking us this morning, it's like, it wasn't as crazy as yesterday coming down from Perth.
Yeah.
But it was just elevation, corners, the beautiful fall colors. It's fantastic.
Yeah, from here, we're going to continue back around. We did what's known as a horn trip this morning, all the way out one stretch of water, back. It's a classic travel route for locals. And then from here, we're going to head back north and eventually make our way back to Toronto eventually. But I think we're going to take Highway 2 and check out some more old towns, Cobourg, Port Hope.
Yeah, exactly. And we also have to mention that this is only 2 hours from Toronto.
Right.
So it makes for a great day trip. You ride down here, you spend the day, you know, exploring and experiencing Prince Edward County, and then, you know, go home for dinner kind of thing. And if you come out in a vehicle, then you can do the wine tour, you know, of course with your DD. But if you're on your bike, leave some space in your bags to take home some of the Prince Edward County wine, which is becoming world-renowned.
Right, yeah. I forgot to mention 40 wineries, 6-7 microbreweries, 3 or 4 cideries now. This one is the original. And yeah, well, We won't sample any of that today, but we will sample the roads. Let's just continue this ultimate ride.
Excellent.
So Norm, here we are in Port Perry, Ontario. It's just a click up the road from here. It's not Coburg, it's not Port Hope. As always, things change. We've been sort of chasing the weather a little bit here, but how do we recap this season's ultimate ride? I mean, I know what I've got to say about it, but really, were you surprised by what we were able to get out of something that we planned like within a week?
In a week, I think it was less than that. I think it was 2 days or 3 days that we made the changes there. You know, obviously with the COVID situation, everything was very fluid on this ride. Sum it up, I think, first of all, I would say that, you know, what an opportunity to have ridden through two very strategic waterways with the Trent-Severn and the Rideau Canal.
Yeah.
I mean, these two waterways were so instrumental in developing Upper Canada at that time. And, you know, now all the beautiful roads that we rode around them, it was just fantastic.
Yeah, and you know, we have done so many of these trips, and I know it turns out we're both kind of into Canadian history, and there was definitely the history. What surprised me were the roads. And near Chappie's Lock, around Perth, we were on Highway 10, 21, and 14. I think you said that was one of your combinations of roads that you really enjoyed.
Yeah, they kind of came out of nowhere for us too that day, and you know, when we got on them, I'm like, wow, I've never even seen these roads, never even heard of these roads, and it was just like you said, the roads were so fantastic. And more than that, there's also, if you go north to Barry's Bay, and then you made your way southeast from Barry's Bay, on all the 500s that are in that area as well, north of Kingston and into Calabogie. I mean, that whole area you know, that we've been riding in, it's just endless opportunities of great roads.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess fantastic for those of you that are living in the Ontario area, Southern Ontario especially. Not so good if you're out west, but you know, I would say ultimately what these ultimate rides have shown us, I think, is even though we've gone far afield, you know, all the way down to Costa Rica, we ended up finding some great stuff just in our own backyard. So maybe that's the message, is look around your backyard.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know how the other areas we know how the other areas of the country are because we've been there, but for sure, if you're traveling through Ontario and in this rare area, plan to spend, you know, 2-3 days here. Extend your trip if you want.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be pleasantly surprised with what you're going to find here.
Yeah. Well, Norm, it's been an amazing 2.5-3 days. The weather was with us, and I want to thank you again for another ultimate ride.
Great to be with you.
So Norm, here we are back in beautiful Prince Edward County after wrapping up our 22nd ultimate ride. We had a fantastic 3-day ride, and this is the typical segment at the typical time of the year where we get together and we say, all right, that was an amazing ultimate ride. Now, what are we going to do next year?
Well, there's going to be some changes next year, David. By the time the viewers see this episode and this show from this year, they'll have retired from BMW. I plan on leaving it on December 31st after 34 years.
Right. Now, I'm supposed to pretend to be shocked, like, oh, but actually, I knew this was coming. You told me a couple of weeks ago. I am still in shock. But yeah, so then I guess we're not going to be planning our 23rd ultimate ride. I know the viewers are going to miss you, Norm, and I know I'm going to miss you. Before we get to all of that, and hopefully we won't start tearing up, 22 ultimate rides. Anyone stand out as being the ultimate of the ultimates?
You know, you ask me that all the time. You know, I think it's 22 of them. You know, each one was unique. Each one brought some really cool riding, some really cool history, some places that I never would have traveled on my own, most likely. So 22 years with you and Motorcycle Experience behind me and offering me this opportunity to get out and ride all these beautiful areas we've been to.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to say we went to some places I thought I would never visit, and I'm so proud of the fact, yeah, we did the Grand Canyon and we did California and we did the Deals Gap and all of those dream rides. But what I'm really proud of is we rode coast to coast here in Canada. And it showed me just how vast our country is and how beautiful and how different. I mean, everything from Newfoundland all the way to, I say Cape Spear to Tofino, we did it all.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I've enjoyed the most year after year is meeting the viewers at shows or events, and how excited they are to have had the opportunity to watch the show. And if they're traveling in Canada now, they have ideas of where to go just based on our show. They say, wow, yeah, I redid that whole thing that you and David did, and it was awesome. And it was just wonderful. So I really feel good about that for sure.
Well, Norm, it's been an incredible 22 years. I know the fans love the segment. The feedback has been great, and it's been wonderful to do this with you. And the friendship and the bond is going to always be there. Thank you so much.
It's been an absolute pleasure, David.